So now I've got my my plate that I'm going to trim a foot on. The plate is still on the bat. I flipped it over onto, and it's in good shape. Now I want to take it up. I'm not sure I recommend this, but for explaining what I need to do, I want to have this curve on the interior match the shape of the exterior. And so the foot ring should be right about there, about 2/3 of the way out on the plate that we have here. Now flipping it like that is can make it become uneven, and so I'm not sure I'd recommend that, but you do need to have a sense of what shape you're working with and what shape it's going to be. I'm going to center it just the way I normally would. I'm going to take my needle tool and let it mark. Actually, what I just realized I had forgotten about is I've got some extra clay over on this side, so I don't really want to mark whether I'm centered up there. I've got that extra clay that for some reason stuck to it, so I'm going to make a new set of lines. This line is a little bit lower, and it shows me that I'm just a little bit off center, pretty close. I can wipe that away and continue. Now with a real wet or a relatively wet plate, and with a plate that is relatively wide, you don't need to use wads. If your plate's a little bit drier, or if your plate is more narrow, there's not as much surface area, and so it's more likely to slip off. I'm going to try doing this without wads and see how it goes. I can always stop the wheel and add them if I decide that I need them. I'm going to start just like I would on a bowl with cleaning up the bottom. My bottom's pretty clean, but just to make sure, it's a good habit to get into, and it also helps you transition into cleaning up this outside edge here. Notice that I've got my hand on the other side of the wheel just to kind of keep track of things, make sure that I don't lose control, start my clay to slipping. So I've got that edge cleaned up. I can clean it up a little bit more. This is one cleaning up sort of down, or I guess up high, down closer to the wheel head, closer to what is the top of the plate. That's harder to do when you have wads there, and that's a reason to avoid using the wads if you can. Now I'm going to draw in my foot ring, and like I said, I want that about 2/3 of the way out. I want it to be a relatively stable rim, and so I've made it a little bit wide. I'm going to trim away some of the clay here, and I know that I've got a lot of extra clay right in here, and so I know I can be somewhat liberal in how much I cut away. You saw that I pulled it away from center, and so now I have to bring it back to center. Perhaps now would be a good time to add wads to this piece. She says that she doesn't. So I'm going to change the angle of my trimming tool to get away some of that clay, or to start to shape the foot ring. So I'm trying to make this area come down a little bit straighter. Some sort of uneven thickness here. For whatever reason it dried a little unevenly, or was drier to begin with. I'm going to switch to my small loop tool, and I'm going to start from the center and come out to my foot ring, taking away that extra clay so it doesn't get in my way. Now with feet you want to be careful, with plates you want to be careful that you don't get them too thin, because you've already got this long expanse of clay that's not supported by very much. You want to have a good sense of how thick that is to begin with, so that you're not cutting too much away. I believe I've got a decent amount of thickness here, so I can trim a decent amount of clay away. I'm going to switch my angle and make some definition in this foot ring. And then I'm going to come back through and try to even this out a little bit more. I'll come back to the outside. And I slowed my speed down a little bit as I worked towards the outside, so I didn't lose control, or to try to prevent myself from losing control. Now if this were a first time I've done a plate, I would perhaps stop right now and check. You could always, if you're working on a bat, you could make yourself a mark with wet clay that shows you where the edge of your bowl is, or I'm sorry, your plate is, so that you can keep it centered. Because I know what I'm doing, I think I can get away with doing it all in one go, but I can always put it back on the wheel if I haven't cut enough away. Cut away just a little bit more on this inside edge here. And then I've got to make sure I get my eyes down low so I can see how the piece looks from the side. Most people aren't going to spend their time looking at the plate from underneath. They're going to be looking at it from the side or obviously from above. Now when I flip this plate over and I've checked my floor thickness, it's pretty even. It's got some shadow down there. I'll lift it up so you can see it from the edge, and it looks like it's in good shape.